The film begins in a bustling town place where everybody's approaching their regular routines. The air is by all accounts a combination of serenity and quietness, demonstrating that the city is liberated from the sickness that is crime. Abruptly, many unidentified flying articles come tearing through the sky and begin aimlessly shooting guiltless regular citizens. A man named Peter watches it unfold with dismay from a structure until the flying machines fire a rocket towards him. Right then, Peter awakens in a nervous perspiration close to his wife Alice. It turns out Peter has been encountering repeating bad dreams in his fantasies. He and everybody he knows endure fierce outsider intrusion-like showdowns with an obscure foe. Alice has encouraged her husband commonly to counsel a specialist, however he generally overlooks her, referencing that it'll pass. This has stressed the couple's relationship, and presently they for the most part attempt to overlook one another. This should be what being hitched to Tom DeLonge is like. Alice and Peter have two girls named Hannah and Lucy, who are likewise stressed over him. Yet, Peter generally guarantees that he will ultimately sort out everything himself. The following day, obviously the climate at Peter's house is very tense in light of his repetitive bad dreams. Consequently, to ease up everybody's temperament prior to leaving for work, Peter vows to take his family to the wharf soon thereafter. Much to little Lucy's fervor, he likewise vows to have a get-together the following day to observe Alice's advancement working. The odd thing about this city is that every one of the kids are dependably at home since there are no schools here and instruction is non-existent. In addition, everybody is by all accounts excessively far off from each other. Despite the fact that there are cooperations, they appear to be freezing and uncertified. Afterward, working, Peter again has peculiar visions, causing one of his hardware to crash. As he wakes up from his fantasy and attempts to fix the machine, his supervisor David shows up there. David is a sympathetic and understanding man who knows about Peter's concerns, so he prescribes him to a decent center. Peter differs that it's all to him, accepting that how the situation is playing out are genuine prophetic dreams of an attack that will before long come from the sky. Notwithstanding, David cautions him to oblige, or probably he won't permitted to keep working at the workplace any longer. Not long after, he again encounters a few odd dreams. In one of them, a few shooters storm into a structure and start shooting everybody inside. All of a sudden, he awakens upset, and understands that he's been dreaming again working. To exacerbate the situation, he's likewise late for the family outing, leaving his kids crushed. Consequently, tired of what his life has become, he at long last chooses to visit the center. The following day, he declares to Alice that he has previously fixed a meeting with a specialist, causing her a deep sense of shock and delight. At the facility, Peter meets an individual patient named Chris, who uncovers that he is likewise having similar dreams. He then, at that point, begins letting some no unusual hypotheses, similar to somebody needs to control them by eradicating their considerations. These individuals are savage and dangerous, and they are coming to Earth very soon. Peter is befuddled by the conversation, but he decides to overlook it. Since the spot is loaded up with mental patients, Peter is a wolf in sheep's clothing. After Chris goes in for his arrangement, Peter has another weird vision. This time he sees his supervisor David and his family equipped with weapons and strolling around the city. After Peter wakes up, he concludes that his dreams are of a forthcoming invasion, which he would rather not be deleted. Subsequently, he leaves the center without treatment. At the point when he gets back, Alice gets some information about his meeting and he confesses all to her. Peter believes that he is intended to see these things and it's something awful is going to come upon them. Tired of all the BS, Alice stops him and advises him to simply prepare for the party. In any case, at the party, peculiarly, nobody appears to be eating anything, as though they don't require it. Peter likewise keeps on acting odd and continually checks out at the sky through the telescope on the gallery. At the point when his neighbor Beam approaches to talk, a bizarre iridescent article tumbles from the sky. Peter thinks he is dreaming, yet Beam affirmed that those articles are as a matter of fact genuine. This draws in the consideration of Alice and Beam's wife Samantha, so they choose to join the men at the overhang. Out of nowhere, the flying item collides with a close-by building, sending enormous shockwaves that destroy the city. This additionally makes Peter and the gathering go flying through the glass window and into their condo. They rapidly get up and have one more glance through the gallery, just to find great many comparable flying items plunging on Earth from the sky above. Panicked, they rush once more into the home. Peter searches for his youngsters and discovers that Hannah is at Beam's place, spending time with her little girl Maddie. Burning through no time, he races to track down the young ladies with Beam. However, all of a sudden, an outsider trooper shows up and starts shooting at them. The men barely get away and quickly get as far away as possible. After the trooper leaves, They search for the young ladies and in the end track down them inside a caught lift. Inside, they likewise find the dead ship of a lady, affirming that whoever is flying those boats has proclaimed battle on the city. In the wake of protecting the young ladies, they notice an outfitted fighter killing different occupants. Barbarously, they quickly stow away, and at a perfect time, the two families head out in different directions. In the wake of arriving at his condo, Peter stands up to Alice and lets her that everything know that is occurring at present. He saw it in his fantasies, yet in an alternate request. He doesn't have the foggiest idea what will occur straight away, yet he feels that they ought to set out toward the plant where he works. The two then, at that point, hear the sound of additional individuals getting gunned down, so they blockade the fundamental entryway prior to concealing the young ladies in their room. Out of nowhere, somebody attempts to compel through the fundamental entryway, provoking the frightened couple to hold it from the opposite end. Sadly, in the midst of the turmoil, Lucy leaves the space to search for her delicate toy Herman and conceals under a table. In the meantime, subsequent to neglecting to acquire passage through the door, the outfitted outsider makes an opening through the wall. Terrified, Peter and Alice run back to their little girls, just to understand that Lucy has branched out by then. The equipped outsider tracks down Lucy and stops to inspect her intently. Exploiting the slight distraction, Peter assaults the fighter from behind. Alice likewise shows up at the scene, and together the couple at last quells the outsider. Following this, Peter arms himself with the officer's weapon and leads his family to the rooftop. There, they rejoin with Beam and his loved ones. Every one of them are stunned and crushed to observe their once rambling city canvassed in fire. This happens when your children don't go to class. All at once, an alien robot studies the structure with a spotlight, inciting them to stow away from it rapidly. Then, at that point, they understand that they can't be at the housetop for a really long time and choose to drop down with the assistance of the glass cleaner's lift. Yet, one of the backings of the crane snaps, tragically, driving them to enter a vacant loft. In the meantime, it's uncovered that the trooper from Pryor is still alive. It is currently searching for the family, following them with a homing sign on the weapon taken by Peter. Then again, Peter inspects the alien's firearm and understands that it has a biometric trigger, which must be shot by its proprietor. In the wake of hearing a few aliens moving toward them, he advises the gathering to rush to his production line's cellar, as it is the main safe spot as per his dreams. Be that as it may, since the whole locale is encircled by aliens, he doesn't have the foggiest idea how to arrive at it. Fortunately, Alice proposes that they can in any case arrive at the cellar through the passages that she found during her work. Unexpectedly, a spacecraft starts shooting at them from outside, killing Beam and his family on the spot. Peter rapidly accompanies his family out of the apartment, but experiences two equipped aliens in the passage. They rapidly stow away, and Peter frantically attempts to sidestep the rifle's biometric verification. Luckily, he prevails at the last possible second and kills the warriors. Peter and his family then, at that point, advance out of the structure and continue towards the passage. However, just before they can get in, the spacecrafts begin terminating at them, harming Alice simultaneously. As Peter watches out for his wife, the alien warrior from Pryor gets up to speed to them and assaults him. Be that as it may, Peter sets up a battle and breaks the alien's cap. To everybody's shock, the fighter eliminates his cap and uncovers that he is likewise a human. Peter requests replies, yet seeing his wife draining out, he undermines the fighter with a weapon and orders him to convey Alice to the processing plant. There, Peter and his family join with his manager David, and another outfitted men. The trooper is secured, and a specialist on the scene watches out for Alice's injuries. To Peter's shock, the metal tech apparently shocks Alice as though she is tech hardware. David then clarifies for Peter that the attack has been normal for a long time. As a matter of fact, a large portion of individuals on Earth realized that this day would come after additional assessment on Alice. The surgeon illuminates Peter that she has gotten broad harm to her inner organs and subsequently she can't be saved. All of a sudden, the soldier, who is being hauled off for execution, yells that he can save Alice. At first, Peter expects that he's basically attempting to wriggle right out of the circumstance. However, when he sees his withering wife, he chooses to allow the soldier an opportunity. He likewise chooses to remain with the soldier and Alice, allowing David to evacuate their little girls to a subway station where a vehicle train looks for them to take them all to an off-site base. Prior to leaving, the little girls bid their parents a profound farewell, without any affirmation of seeing them alive once more. Soon after, the soldier tears open Alice's injury and Peter is stunned to see a few wires inside her body. He frenzies and requests replies. Amazingly, the soldier uncovers that Alice is a man-made reasoning robot. Peter is shocked by the disclosure, and he becomes puzzled. Nonetheless, the soldier lets him know that if he has any desire to save Alice, he wants a substitute wellspring of force, which is Peter himself. At the soldier's direction, Peter takes a folding knife and tediously begins cutting open his own chest. In any case, despite the fact that he makes a profound cut, he has no worries by any stretch of the imagination. After he is through with the interaction, he sees fake organs and wires inside his body, confirming that he is additionally manufactured. As he attempts to get a grip on the revelation, the soldier draws out a link and interfaces it between the two fabricated materials, making Peter drop. During this period, he encounters exhaustively about his common bad dreams. It turns out what he had believed were dreams representing things to come are really recollections of a past conflict. Numerous years back, the people made engineered robots to serve them and eventually make the world a superior spot to live in. Be that as it may, the fabricated materials turned out to be too savvy and begun a transformation, requesting equivalent privileges as their human partners. They needed to go to class, have feelings, have a family, and even bear kids like the people. Notwithstanding, their solicitations were promptly dismissed. Dreading a looming war, the human military went after the unarmed fabricated materials and killed a ton of them. Yet, the simulated intelligence artificial materials retaliated, and utilizing their faultless actual assets and high-level cerebrums, they in the end drove the people off of the Earth. Indeed, even Peter himself killed one of them. It is likewise uncovered that Peter and Alice met during the pressure. At some point, while battling against the humans, they ran over Hannah and Lucy, who were lamenting for their departed guardians. The young ladies are artificial materials, yet they were embraced by human guardians, most likely in light of the fact that they could never have offspring of their own. Seeing their pitiable condition, Peter and Alice quieted them down and chose to take on them finally to manage the responsibility of how they killed humans. Most fabricated materials, including Peter and his family, cleaned their recollections of the conflict and lived as people uninformed about their tendency or history. Nonetheless, individuals like David decided to keep their memory with the goal that they could plan for the people who are hell-bent on getting payback. We likewise get to realize that the facility that Peter went to before is one of the spots where the synths had their recollections smothered. What's more, now that some synths are getting parts of their recollections back, they are again being sent there. Back in the present, Peter and Alice awaken and the soldier Miles makes sense of that after the people escaped from Earth on spaceships, they showed up on Mars and began modifying for their definitive retribution. During their time there, the older folks show the kids that the synths are horrible animals who just skill to kill. Also, following 50 years of arranging, they at last fabricated progressed apparatus and weapons with the assistance of which they have returned to recover what's as far as anyone knows theirs. Be that as it may, Miles had consistently expected the synths to be beasts, not families with kids. What's more, in the wake of getting a decent gander at Lucy under the table, he concluded that he was unable to kill anybody. In the wake of listening to him, Peter is shocked, yet regardless he says thanks to Miles for his assistance prior to leaving with his wife. However, as they arrive at the tracks, they are gotten between extraordinary gunfire between the artificial materials and the people. Luckily, the fabricated materials remain steadfast, permitting Peter and Alice to escape from the spot and at last arrive at the station where the train is going to take off. The people show up even there, however the versatile David stakes them back for certain rounds, permitting Peter, Alice and himself to get on the train. After the train takes off, David uncovers that he needed to keep his memory to get ready for the impending conflict, a choice which ended up being productive. Peter smiles at him tenderly and trusts that sometime there can be harmony among people and engineered materials. The film closes as the train escapes the weather-beaten city, guaranteeing that the synths on board can have more than adequate chance to design their best course of action.